Have you thought about writing down all the things you think you need to do to reach your goal? What is the most important thing to do? What should you do first? Have you really thought about how much time and money you'll need to reach your goal or finish your task? Do you have the time and tools you need to be successful? The most important skill for success is being able to set goals and make plans to reach them. There is no other skill that will help you reach your full potential and do everything you are capable of. Multitasking is a key skill for success. They have a list of steps that need to be done in a certain order to get a certain outcome. It takes more than one thing to do something as easy as following a recipe to make a dish in the kitchen. To be successful, you will need to learn how to plan and carry out these kinds of tasks. This will help you get a lot more done than most people. The point of planning is to help you turn your main goal into a well-organized project with clear steps, a start, a middle, and end, and clear due dates and sub-due dates. You can learn and master this skill with practice, which is good news. It will make you one of the most useful and powerful people in your company or group, and you will get better at it the more you do it. Making plans is an important step. Some time ago, Inquirer magazine conducted a study with 50 new companies. Half of these companies had spent at least several months developing complete business plans before starting operations. The other half had started without detailed business plans and simply reacted to events as they occurred in daily operations. 2 or 3 years later, the researchers determined the levels of success and profitability of all these companies. What they found was very interesting. The companies that had started with clear, written business plans, carefully thought out and detailed in every aspect, were much more successful and profitable than those that had started spontaneously and made things up as they went along. Almost all the companies that had started without detailed plans, whose founders were too busy to sit down and do all the detailed and precise work of strategic planning, were struggling to stay afloat. Many of them were already bankrupt and had gone out of business. The most interesting discovery was made when the researchers interviewed the founders of the companies and asked how often they referred to their strategic plan in the day-to-day operations of the company. In almost all cases, the entrepreneurs and executives running the company had not looked at the strategic plan since they completed it months before. Once done, they put it in a drawer and rarely took it out until the following year when they did their strategic planning again. The most important thing they found was that they rarely talked about the plan itself. But learning the important parts of the business carefully had been very important to their success. It was more important than any other step taken at the start to think about and talk about all the important parts of the business plan. Alex McKenzie, an expert on time management, says that this is why people fail when they act without planning. An old saying in the military says that no plan can last after the first meeting with the enemy. Things will change so quickly as soon as we start doing real business that your plan will be out of date in many ways after just a few days or even hours. But the most important part is the planning process. In the first 3 weeks of a new business, Scott McNeely of Sun Microsystems says you have to throw out all of your beliefs. A lot of great things are accomplished by people who follow written plans. The great things that people have done, from building the pyramids to the big industrial projects of today, all started with detailed, well thought out plans that went over every step of the process. In fact, every minute spent planning saves 10 in execution. Every minute you spend planning and thinking before starting will save you time, money, and energy in achieving the results you desire. That's why they say that failing to plan is planning to fail. The number one reason for failure is acting without planning. Those who say they are too busy to plan ahead must be prepared to make unnecessary mistakes and suffer enormous losses of time, money, and energy. It is said that every new business founded is a race against time. From day one, the founders strive to find a way to make more money than it costs to stay in business. If they find the profit model and start generating more income than costs before they run out of money, the company will stand up and succeed. But if the money runs out before they figure out how to get more profits than losses, the company, like a plane crashing, will plummet and burn. There is a way to be successful in both life and work. Poor output can be avoided by planning ahead. There are 7 good reasons to plan ahead. First, planning pushes us to put our thoughts in order and figure out what the most important issues are that we need to deal with in order to be successful. Second, thinking carefully about what we need to do to reach our goals helps us plan our steps before we start, which saves us a lot of time, money, and people. Third, if we talk about and analyze a good plan carefully, we can find the mistakes and flaws that could destroy our business in the future. It lets us think, what if? What is the worst thing that could happen, for instance, if we go down a certain path? An additional benefit of relevant prior planning is that it helps us find flaws in our plans and make changes to fix them. A lot of the time we can spot a deadly mistake that would cause the business to fail. The only way to do this is to prepare ahead of time. Fifth, it helps us figure out our skills and possible opportunities that we can use to improve our chances of success. Before we start making plans, we don't always know what our strengths are or what chances are out there. The sixth benefit of planning is that it allows us to focus our time and money and concentrate all our resources on one or two objectives we must achieve for our business to succeed. In the absence of clear focus and concentration, we tend to spread our energies too broadly and accomplish very little. The seventh benefit of relevant planning is that it will inevitably save us hours, weeks, and months of confusion, errors, and losses of both money and energy. In many cases, as a result of careful analysis and planning, decision makers understand that it is impossible to reach a certain goal with the available time or resources or under the existing circumstances. Sometimes the best deals are those we don't enter in the first place. A few years ago, I worked for a wealthy man who gave me advice I haven't forgotten. It is always easier to get into something than to get out of something. He taught me that the time to think something through carefully is before committing resources and people, not after. Planning is a vital discipline and a technique. It is both a habit and a competency. This means that planning is a skill we can master through repetition and practice, and it is much easier than we might think. In its simplest form, a plan is a list of all the activities we need to engage in from start to finish to achieve a specific goal or objective. To start the planning process, take a sheet of paper and make a list of everything you believe you will need to do to reach your goal. As new things come to mind, add them to the list. Review the points and steps as you gather more information. This list is your plan for building the house of your dreams, your ideal goal or result. Now, put your list in order of importance and process by choosing the most important tasks or activities first. Sort all the items from most important to least important, starting with the most important one at the top. Also, put the items on the list in order. Figure out which tasks need to be done before or after others when setting the order. Many times, you can't finish one job until another one is done. Completing a single job can sometimes be the thing that stops the whole process. A common way to measure the success of a plan in planning is by how well it meets a certain goal or aim. It could mean the end of building new plants, warehouses, or offices. It could be the date the finished product or service is delivered, or the number of sales that need to be reached. It could be choosing a key person for a very important job. The planning process helps us figure out what parts of a plan are most important so we can spend more time and energy on the tasks and activities that are most necessary for success. No plan is perfect at creation. Most plans aimed at achieving something new fail repeatedly at first. This is to be expected. Your ability to accept feedback and correct your activity plan is vital to your success. Ask yourself what works, what doesn't work. Pay more attention to what is right than being right. Remember the old restart rule. Whenever your plan doesn't work, relax, take a deep breath, and start again. When you have a problem, resolve to be solution-oriented. Assume there will be difficulties as part of the process and decide to react effectively if you do not reach your goals as scheduled. What is the problem? What else is the problem? What are the solutions? What other solutions are there? What can we do now? What is the next step? It seems that when we start working toward a new goal, we immediately experience setbacks. Obstacles, difficulties, and temporary failures arise. This is to be expected. It is normal and natural. Tremendous effort is needed to launch something new and make it successful. But this is the price to pay to achieve the goals we set for ourselves. Always reflect on what you think on paper. Continuously make lists and sub-lists of each step of every process. Constantly review and update your plan, continually improving it until it is perfect. Remember that planning is a technique, and being a technique, it can be learned. Your ability to think, plan, organize, and initiate an activity that leads you to your goal will place you among the top 10% in your field, but it takes time. One way to implement this idea is to create a project planning sheet for achieving a multitasking goal. This way, you will have a visual picture of your goal and the steps you need to take to reach it. It can be very useful in opening your eyes to the strengths and weaknesses of the planning process. Write down at the top of the sheet the number of days, weeks, and months you think you will need to finish the job. For a 12-month job, write down the names of the months beginning with now. This tells you how long the job will take. Make a list of all the things you need to do in the right order to reach your end goal in a column on the left. What should come first, second, and so on. Make a clear note of what you want the end result to look like in the bottom right area. Being clear about this goal will make it easy to reach it. From now on, you can use horizontal bars to show how long it will take to finish a certain job. Some jobs need to be done after another one is finished, while others can be done at the same time. There are some that are more important than others. Now that you have a project planning sheet, you can see your whole goal easily. Everyone responsible for carrying out a part of the plan should be involved in the planning process. It is very common to make the mistake of assuming that a task is straightforward and can be completed quickly and easily. It is often a shock to discover that something seemingly simple and easy actually requires several months from start to finish. A time constraint in an essential phase of your plan may force you to revise it completely. When starting a planning process, your main concern should be to accurately identify all the necessary steps and the exact time required to complete each stage of the plan. When it comes to making plans and achieving goals, there is a time for optimism and a time for realism. You must be absolutely honest with yourself at every step of the planning process and never rely on luck or hope that the laws of nature will temporarily be suspended for your benefit. In the planning process, it is common to have to solve one of the main problems before being able to address the others. Generally, a key goal must be reached before others can be achieved, or a critical element must be addressed before any other part of the plan can be successfully completed. For example, many businesses start with every detail in place except a professional sales system. To generate revenue, the company embarks on a strategic planning process, renting offices, buying furniture, installing computers and equipment to produce the product or service, hiring administrative and commercial staff, and starting advertising. But without a first-class sales system, within a few months or even weeks without sales income, the company stalls. What are the most important things you need to do at each stage to reach your end goal? How can you organize your tasks, decide which ones are most important, and make sure you finish them on time? What are your plans in case something goes wrong? What are you going to do if it costs more time and money to reach the important goals that will help you reach your goal? What is your plan for an emergency? A wise person once said, "A big life, like a big ship, should never be held by a single hope or a single anchor." The good news is that planning itself makes the whole process of reaching your goals better and easier. The more often and carefully you plan before you start, the better you will get at planning in general. The more you plan, the more ideas and chances you'll get to plan and carry out even bigger and better things. The key to personal effectiveness and good performance is being able to clearly state what you want, write it down, make a plan, and then carry out that plan. You can learn these skills and get good at them very quickly. They can change your life or business, help you reach your goals, make twice as much money, or sell twice as much.